This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for December 23rd. President Obama has nominated Matthew Butler for a seat on a federal elections panel, the Election Assistance Commission. In this role, Butler would be part of election oversight activities, including the creation of guidelines and certifying voting systems. Butler's resume includes work with groups like Progressive Media USA, in which Butler says he, quote, rectified structural legal problem to avoid a potential $5 million IRS tax penalty. And this has sent up red flags for some critics, including former Federal Election Commissioner Hans von Spakovsky. They are calling on Butler to fully disclose his dealings with the IRS and point to Butler's lack of related experience and partisan work history with politically left-leaning organizations as cause to oppose his nomination. Days after the White House warned North Korea a proportional response to their cyber attack was coming, North Korea's internet service went down. Service was reportedly spotty for several days and is now apparently completely offline. Doug Mattery, director of internet analysis at Dyn Research, said it appeared to be a victim of a DDoS or distributed denial of service attack on their routers. No group is taking responsibility for the outage. A majority of North Koreans do not have internet access, so this outage is affecting government functions and the upper-class citizens. Milwaukee County District Attorney John Chisholm announced police officer Christopher Manny will not be charged for the April 30th shooting death of Dontre Hamilton. In his statement, Chisholm said, quote, based on all the evidence and analysis presented in this report, I come to the conclusion that Officer Manny's use of force in this incident was justified and self-defense, and that defense cannot be reasonably overcome to establish a basis to charge Officer Manny with a crime. The state of Wisconsin prepared for protests in the wake of the news, opening its Emergency Operations Center and putting the National Guard on standby to respond should the need arise. Reports of ISIS brutality involve new attacks on Christianity and Christian churches, with reports that converted churches in Iraq cities have been turned into torture chambers and prisons. One of the oldest Christian churches in Iraq, St. George's Monastery, has reportedly been turned into a detention center for women. Journalist Jürgen Taudenhofer spent 10 days with members of ISIS and reported that the most concerning thing about the group is their belief that, quote, all religions who agree with democracy must die. ISIS militants have also been pulling down church crosses and replacing them with their infamous black flag. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for December 23rd.
Hi, welcome back to Battle for Freedom. I'm Watson Tournier. Glad that you can tune in, and I've got my great buddy, friend, and contemporary host, Mike Miller, is still connected with us, right, Mike?
I am here, man.
I tell you, I am so happy how you have been able to contribute and share because of the fact that I think you have a great job in just trying to remove the color from the issue and try and deal with the issue right up front. And you expose people for what they're doing, and that's what I try and do as well when we try and talk about the problems that are happening in America right now. And one of the things that that when we talk about moving forward with America and the rebuilding processes and all the contention that's going on right now, one of the questions I wonder is, and again, I know we want to move away from the color, but I have to go to the color one more time here on this, is with everything that's transpired, and I'm really happy to see Eric Garner's family speak out against the violence against the police officers and everything like that. That was very encouraging to see that. And so when you see something like that, do you think Black America is ready to move forward?
You know what? And I think in this instance, to include color is spot on. And here, I've thought about that as well. And man, my thought, first of all, much of Black America already has decades ago. And let me just say this for the purpose of illustrating that. I've lived in several upscale neighborhoods in Indianapolis. Black neighbors at every one of them. Can you imagine it? I'm not patronizing here, but can you imagine, Watson, 40 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, but 40, 50 years ago, that being the case? There's no way.
Yeah.
Um, there's no way. But and again, I know maybe it's not a good example, but I grew up in a town that didn't let black people move in. In fact, one their house was burned down, and this wasn't in the South. Now, multiple examples we can give, but as you and I talked, when we say Black America, just as white America isn't monolithic, neither is Black America. So those, again, as we've talked, who have the whatever you want to call it, maybe not necessarily mentality, but the makeup of an Alan West or a Herman Cain or Dr. Ben. I mean, look at Dr. Ben Carson's background. People who don't know it, and Watson, I know you do. Look at how he grew up. Grew up. He wasn't born on third base with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was not born to privileged people. Neither was Clarence Thomas. And there are multiple examples down the line. So this notion of Black America moving forward, I mean, let me summarize because I know I'm long-winded here. Those who prefer to listen to Al Sharpton, Eric Holder, and yes, Barack, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon Martin. Um, People of color or anyone else who haven't succeeded in life believe that it's someone else's fault. It's the system, it's prejudice, it's racism, whatever. People like that are never going to move forward. And again, I don't give a damn what color they are. If you have this victim mentality, you're not going to go anywhere.
Exactly. And they don't. And one of the things that, and I was having a conversation with a gentleman I really respect last week, and we were talking about this. He's an older black man. He comes from the South, and he's experienced a lot of racism and hatred in the past, and sometimes even today he'll experience some of that. And one of the things that he did, he at least admitted that one of the things that blacks will need to learn how to do, and it's not just blacks, it's anybody
Exactly.
who wants success, they need to learn how to navigate the system. If you want to be successful, guess what? There's a road to get there. And if you're not willing to get onto the playing field and start playing around with the people who may have the better teams, who may have the better businesses as well, let's stop saturating something that's already just beat to death. Great, you want to start a haircut place, that's fine. You want to start a restaurant, that's fine. But those are things that have already been saturated already.
Right.
Why don't you jump into an area that has not been touched already?
Listen, moreover, someone did a study on this. In fact, this has been talked about for a long time. Let's just, for argument's sake, call it urban America. If teenagers, let's just be generic here, would do three things: graduate from high school, get a job, as insignificant as it may be, and don't have a baby before you get married, and hopefully not before the age of 21. If you look at the statistics of people that do what I just said, astronomically um, more successful than those who drop out of high school, hang out on the street corner, and get pregnant without being married. I mean, how difficult is that to understand?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
totally true. There was one thing when I used to work at a TV station. I used to watch this show, and it was this judge. And one of the cases, this guy was saying that he hit the other guy because he called him a name. And this judge basically, she said, "Hey, I grew up in the '60s in in this area, which was mostly white. I went to school, and I had somebody call me the N-word once, and I came running home from school, and basically, my dad told me, 'Did you do your homework? Did you do this?' Well, then screw what they say." And basically and she took that to mean, work hard, screw what they're saying. You're still doing what you need to do, so don't worry about them. And
Wow.
then so she was like, and guess what? Now they are doing whatever they're doing. And I know that some of them, and they have not been successful because they have this hate in their heart. And, look at this N word now, basically. She's like, I'm a judge, and I'm a successful person. And because I didn't let name calling get me into trouble. And that's what she was trying to get to
It's
them.
endemic in the black community. I'm sorry, it is.
And the thing about it is that, and they people continue to say that there's no opportunities. I reached out, I called your show, and guess where? Here I am a few months later, and I have the opportunity to be doing a show on the same network as you, and working with Jess again. The opportunity is there, just like me writing my book Stone's Heart. You know. That's been a labor of love. It's a trilogy that I have. I published my second book this past uh, April,
Awesome.
and so I have those books done, and I'm working on the Kindle versions. I'm trying to have the Kindle version of this first book available by Christmas time, so then I can turn around and have the second book that's going to come out in print in this spring. So once a year, I'll pull out the physical book and then also try and get the Kindle version available. So I could have just sat home, eat whatever food, whatever junk food, and just wait for an EBT card and just expect that all the success is going to fall on me while I'm blaming white America for denying me the opportunity. Or I jump forward and basically say, I'm not going to be defined by, my circumstances. I'm just going to move ahead of those things and basically say that that's not who I am. I have the opportunity to contribute and make my life successful if I'm willing to do the work. And
You
if
know,
if go ahead, man.
I just had to say, man, when you really analyze that, the desire, the need to blame everyone else for your misfortunes in life. And again, I won't say it, but it doesn't matter what color you are. I guess I just said it. But how does that make you feel better? Like, okay, the bitterness builds. You kind of rationalize to yourself irrationality. But at the end of the day, how does that well, it doesn't make you any better because you're still what you are. But how does that make people feel better, you guys?
Yeah, I mean, okay, here's an example for you. My brother, born 5 minutes after me, he is so envious of everyone else's success. Now, if you meet my brother, I've been in computers for 25 years. I have a good grasp on computers, whether it's programming, server administration, you name it, whatever. My brother
Dude,
is
you
an
do
ex,
programming. You don't just have a good grasp. Like you know stuff about stuff that I don't even know the stuff about. You know what I'm
but
saying?
but all of that, Mike, was just picking up a book. I don't have any formal education on what I can do with computers right now.
So
I mean,
what you're trying to tell me is that I think is the government didn't give you the book.
exactly.
The government didn't take the book away from rich white people and give it to you. You just you just sought out the book and yeah, educated yourself, huh?
And the rest was history. And then you look at my brother, he's probably one of the best photographers in the world. I mean, he is me in photography compared to me in computers. That's how good he is.
Wow.
He's stuck with the in liberal progressive mentality. He's out in New York and he's trying to make this break and that break, and he's mad that everybody else is more successful than him, and he's actually feeling due that he is due his success right now, instead of realizing maybe you've exhausted yourself in New York and you need to find opportunities elsewhere.
So
But
politically is he a liberal?
oh yeah, I mean, he called me 2 days after Obama won in 2008. I think he was hungover from celebrating. So I mean, literally, I mean, I think he was barely he could barely speak because he was so elated that Obama won in 2008. And I
So
just sat here.
how the hell did you become a conservative?
The grace of God, the
There
grace
we
of God, and I have a very good buddy here in Indiana. His name is Jay Stigdon, and I love this brother because he has really come alongside and helped me have a better understanding and appreciation